Hi, this is Andres. I'm in an unusual place because I'm in Härkingen, Switzerland, at the museum, the largest Kawasaki museum in Europe. I'm here for a certain reason, and we'll get to that smoothly. Most importantly for you, this place, well, look it up on the map, is not far from Zurich. Open to everyone. So if you're planning any trips around Europe, you can easily stop by Härkingen. This is the headquarters of the Kawasaki distributor, so you can check out the cross-section of Kawasaki's history when it comes to motorcycles, as well as the latest models. The extensive knowledge base here immediately informed us that if you're planning to visit this remarkable museum, it is highly advisable to first send an email or make a phone call, because these incredible motorcycles frequently travel to various special events and exhibitions. In general, everyone is welcome. You just need to arrange your visit a little in advance to make sure everything is here, and so that Christoph has time to show you around. We'll start from the beginning. There is how the museum is organized. It's organized by engines, by engine types, and not necessarily by model or year. Interestingly, as you know, Kawasaki Heavy Industries, you've probably read those nameplates on your own or other motorcycles many times. Many people have wondered what that's all about. Kawasaki was founded in 1878, and the company deals with everything heavy, major undertakings. They make ships, tunnel boring machines, helicopters. Simply, an incredible number of things are produced by Kawasaki. And motorcycles appeared like with many Japanese brands after World War II. At first, in the 1950s, the first engines appeared, and at the beginning of the 1960s, the first motorcycles. Now we'll go through the most interesting items, and later on maybe we'll find something that interests me more. Let's go. The first Kawasaki models didn't really catch on worldwide, so they're not even here, because they're rare even in Japan. Those were 125cc bikes, only for the Japanese market. The first motorcycles we can talk about, the ones we might know or come across, are two-strokes. Samurai 250, Samurai 350. From what I've seen, they have quite interesting power outputs. There's 30-40 horsepower in these machines, and interestingly, they have a rotary valve. This is a component that's mounted on the crankshaft. It would open and close, and that's how the mixture was delivered. An interesting solution. I didn't even know something like that existed. That was the 1960s, 1966, 1967, and this one is from 1968. The first four-stroke Kawasaki, which can be considered the entry into the American market, a motorcycle, as in many cases essentially copied from British ideas, but made in the Japanese way, which probably means better. There are legends that even some covers, for example, the side engine drive cover, can be swapped one-to-one with certain British engines, but those are just legends. As you can see, the inspiration is there. The look is classic, and it's a four-stroke, 625cc, 50 horsepower even back then. It must have really moved. The Samurai 250, Avenger 350, Avenger 350, and W1 models were Kawasaki's first steps, and Kawasaki's first steps in Europe. There were many companies that imported them on their own, which is why these motorcycles are very exotic to us. For example, I saw an Avenger and a Samurai for the first time in my life. Now we're standing next to motorcycles that we might already be familiar with, the famous three-cylinder two-strokes from Kawasaki, which conquered the market as it was growing. So we know that in the 1950s and 1960s, motorcycles were mainly used for getting around, just like Junaks were for us in the 1960s, 1970s, and probably even later. But the turn of the 1960s and 1970s was the moment when people started riding motorcycles for pleasure. They wanted more excitement, more performance, and that's when Kawasaki really started to gain popularity in the United States, mainly thanks to these very powerful engines here. We even have a 750cc with 74 horsepower. Back then, a 750cc two-stroke machine with 3 cylinders, honestly. Even today, I would really love to take it for a ride just to feel what that's like. But we can see how it has evolved. 69, we still have drum brakes. 72, I can already see that disc brakes are appearing. And that's what made Kawasaki so beloved in the States. And I think that tradition, which we'll probably get to in a moment, continues on. These engines were very popular in drag racing, that is quarter-mile races, which as we know are still huge in the States today. And even now, some engines, probably ones we'll get to Kawasaki engines, are used for extreme modification. Honestly, I would ride any of them. And here is where the real hit begins. The real race is what excites many motorcyclists the most speed. In the 1960s, Honda unveiled the CB750, and rumor has it that by the late 60s, Kawasaki already had a design for a four-cylinder inline four-stroke engine. But the moment Honda introduced the 750, that project was simply killed off. It was significantly modernized, which delayed its debut, because Kawasaki has always had the idea that they must have the biggest, fastest, most powerful motorcycle in their lineup, which, by the way, is still true today. And in 72, it was unveiled, and in 73, it actually went on sale. The Kawasaki Z1900 had 82 horsepower. For those times, that was just absolute madness. The motorcycle was winning races. People dreamed about it, loved it. That era passed me by since I was born in 85. But looking at this motorcycle, I recognize it. So it must have been talked about by people for many, many, many years, because I remember images of this motorcycle from my own childhood too, and the very first thing that catches your eye are those 4 exhaust pipes, which we now know from the current Z models. And, it's like, you think you know it, you know the story, but when you suddenly look at this motorcycle and at the new ones, and you compare them, you think to yourself, damn, the history in this Kawasaki is really, really strong. Before we go any further, here's an interesting fact. Why was this motorcycle so popular, and why is it surrounded by such a legend? It turns out it's not just because it was the most powerful or looked good, but also because it kind of signaled that people needed different types of motorcycles. Since it was used for modifications by various European companies, in 74 the French rebuilt it for the 24-hour Le Mans race and won. A German company converted these motorcycles into cruisers to create competition for Harleys. These motorcycles were modified with saddlebags and windshields added to make them suitable for touring. So this was also a clear signal to the manufacturer that, okay, either based on a single platform or simple, actually, not even just on a single platform, that people need different motorcycles for different purposes. And it's quite possible that this was a huge push, not only for Kawasaki, but also for other manufacturers to start looking at motorcyclists more broadly, rather than just thinking, here's a motorcycle with a wide seat, handlebars, a fuel tank, and just different engines in the frame. Very interesting. And let's move on, because now we get to the Z series, the thousands, the power, and so on.